What's going on, everyone? Gill Gross here. It's been over 12 hours now since an epic match went final at the U.S. Open. Rafael Nadal, Dominic Thiem, instant classic, 5 sets, quarterfinal, and Nadal came through it in a 5th set tiebreak. This is tough for me. This is a little bit tough to talk about, and there's a reason why this video isn't 5 reasons Rafa Nadal beat Dominic Thiem. It's a format that I was planning on doing a lot of over the course of the U.S. Open, and you might see it before Monday match analysis on Monday when I'll likely delve into the final. I can't do that for this match because the point of doing that is to point out the areas where the winner separated himself from the loser. The problem is there was almost no separation at all in this match. There was very little that separated these two. It became a battle of sheer will and nerves and attrition and fitness and shot making, and each aspect of this match was simply a wash, a draw. Neither of these guys could separate themselves. Now, they were both doing different things well. For example, Thiem serving a lot better than Nadal. Nadal volleying better than Thiem, finishing points at the net better than Thiem, even though Nadal didn't have a good volleying night. Still better than Thiem. Thiem doing a great job taking returns early, which is something that he hadn't developed on fast courts until really now. And he did that so well. Whoever injected pace into the rally first usually won the point. So I thought that both players had trouble defending. I thought both players had trouble absorbing pace. And both players were ripping the ball as they do. Dominic Thiem at his best really is a very similar player to Nadal, because both of them have the same number one best attribute, and that is safe aggression. Aggression with margin. And there's only one way to achieve aggression with margin, and that is incredible RPM. There's only one way to achieve incredible RPM, and that is incredible racket speed. And there is only one way to have incredible racket speed, and that is to have incredible strength. These guys have strength, racket speed, and therefore insane RPM with pace on the tennis ball, and that enables them to hit aggressive balls, to hit heavy balls that have 6 feet of margin over the net, and to hit aggressive balls, to find angles that are a lot safer because you get the dip into the court. Most players, to be aggressive, they need to straighten the ball out and hit it more like a laser. And when you hit it more like a laser, it's lower over the net, and it doesn't dip as much, so it's easier for it to go long too. Both of these players can sustain incredible aggression from the back, and they can play bully ball and punishing tennis from the back because of their ability to play with aggressive, to play aggressive with margin. So I think, whoever was able to take that first rip usually won the point. For Nadal, it was another example of his sheer willpower, his ability to lay it, to kill himself out there and to suffer. And I think Dominic suffered too. A little bit less. Dominic hit bigger serves. He tried to end points quicker. He made more errors. In fact, the way Nadal won, and this is the last thing I really want to say about this match, because, like I said, it came down to 1 point. Actually, I'll say 2 more things. The way Nadal won reminded me a little bit about the way Djokovic wins when he's not at his best. Because Nadal is normally the aggressor. If you think Nadal is a defensive player, you're wrong. You're just wrong. He's not. He's extremely aggressive. But when he plays Thiem, who is one of the rare players who can punish and bully Rafa sometimes, which he was doing, Rafa went into kind of a different mode that we don't normally see him have to go into. It's a mode that Djokovic enters much more often, and that is, I'm going to play incredibly steady defensive tennis, and I'm going to draw some errors here. And that's not a mode that Nadal normally goes into. But he did do it in this match. So I think, Thiem missed not that much, but just enough because he was serving bigger. He was dictating a lot of rallies. Rafa was doing a little bit more running, which I was wrong about. I thought Thiem would be doing more running, but Rafa was probably doing more running. The forehand, though, Rafa started punishing that and taking control of plenty of rallies. And Thiem got back into bad habits sometimes too. We saw a little bit of everything in this match, but in reality, nothing really separated these two guys. One thing that did separate these guys was match point. It was on serve in the fifth set tiebreak, and Dominic Thiem missed an overhead. It was a tough overhead, but you look across the net, and these are the little things, the nuances, the tiny areas where Rafa definitely has an edge over Thiem, the outskirts of a game. Of your tennis game, such as your drop shotting, your hands at the net, your backhand slice, little things like that. One of those things would be an overhead, right? Because I would never say, I think Nadal's going to win this match because his overhead is better. That would never be something that anyone would say. But on match point, Thiem misses an overhead. Would Nadal have missed that shot? Have we ever seen Rafa lose match point on an overhead? I've rarely seen Rafa miss overheads. In fact, he misses overheads so rarely that I remember the last time he missed an overhead, and that was in the Wimbledon semifinal against Djokovic. Nadal is one of the best overheads in the world. So these are the tiny, minuscule things. But sometimes you just got to clap it up because it was such an incredible match. I'm really happy for Dominic Thiem, and I don't think that this was a damaging result for Thiem. And I think this will actually propel Dominic and give him some confidence. Because that's not always true about losses. Sometimes they can be damaging, but I don't think this one was. I am changing my pick, ladies and gentlemen. I said before the tournament that Rafa Nadal would meet Novak Djokovic in the final. I no longer believe that. Throughout the Open and throughout the summer, first of all, I'll just say this. Nadal's level is not at the peak level we saw at Wimbledon. At times, he's had trouble absorbing pace. And I know that Juan Martin Del Potro will bring the maximum pace that you can possibly bring to the tennis court. Let me just address the last two times Del Potro lost to Nadal in a major. In last year's U.S. Open, Del Potro was depleted. He was sick, and somehow he played a five-setter. I'm not saying he would have won. Believe me, Nadal probably would have still won, but Nadal killed him, which I know you guys are going to say Nadal killed him. So Del Potro plays a five-setter against Thiem, a five-setter against Federer. He played really well in the first set against Nadal, and then he hit a wall. And his backhand was not where it needed to be yet. It wasn't at the 2018 level. It was kind of getting there, but not at the 2018 level. Then you go to Wimbledon. And I think that the ball bounces a little low for Del Potro at Wimbledon, but I also think that Rafa was completely peaking. And he was playing, I think he was playing his A++ tennis throughout Wimbledon. And I don't know if he's there right now. And then the third thing, or another thing is, Nadal is without his serve right now. And I cannot imagine Rafa winning this tournament, which many of you guys think he will. Everyone at ESPN picked Nadal to win the tournament. I cannot imagine Nadal wins the U.S. Open without a serve. He needed to bulk this up. He could not have played any better against Djokovic from the baseline, in my opinion. I just don't think he could have played any better from the baseline. And he still lost. Because Djokovic just had more on the serve. He just got more out of that shot. And Nadal had to work that much harder. So, Nadal, that's the shot really that I haven't seen. Another thing is, suspicions about his fatigue and his injury. I think Nadal's going to be fine. He's so athletic. He has 2 days. I think he might be fine. A lot of people will talk about the time on court. It's not the time on court that concerns me necessarily in terms of taking it out of his legs and him hitting the wall in his next match. It's the fact that he struggled so much, and he struggled against similar opponents. He struggled against pace. He struggled to defend. And here's another thing that I'm going to get. These courts are so slow, they're like clay. How could you pick against Nadal on clay? I have never seen Rafa struggle to absorb pace on clay. I've never seen it. And he has struggled to absorb pace at this tournament. Against Karen Khachanov at times, against Dominic Thiem a lot, against Nicolas Basilashvili, especially on the forehand wing. There have been times where he's struggled to absorb pace. Another thing is, the mechanics of moving on hard court are different than the mechanics of moving on clay. And for Rafa, in terms of his defensive prowess, he cannot defend on hard court like he can on clay. And we saw that last night against Dominic Thiem, where he defended really, really well. But not at the level that he did at Roland Garros against Dominic Thiem, where Thiem couldn't hit through the court. Thiem could hit through the court last night. So is this clay? Is this like Roland Garros? I don't think so. The other thing is, I'm still a little bit suspicious about kind of what's going on with Rafa's knee. He might be fine still. He might be. But I still think that his tendonitis is bothering him, and I think with a healthy knee, Del Potro would have a chance. I think it's Del Potro's time. I think right now, Del Potro looks so good. He looks so sharp. He looks at his peak form. He's on what I believe is his best surface, a slow hard court that he can still hit through despite the speed. That bounces pretty high, nice and high for him. You might say Del Potro likes a fast court. Yeah, but does he? I like Del Potro with time to run around his backhand. I like Del Potro with a high bounce. And these hard courts give him both. And he can still hit through them. What was his best tournament this year? Indian Wells. What's the most similar major to Indian Wells' hard court? The U.S. Open. What was I saying about Nadal? I know I'm going off on different points here. How about this one? Or back to Rafa's knee. You saw the tape come back, and then what was that last night in the first set? Thiem played incredibly. I understand that. But Rafa couldn't really move. What happened there? He got warmed up, and then he could move. But rarely have I seen that. So I keep seeing strange things. And that includes skipping Cincinnati, which was a smart move. He should have skipped Cincinnati. Nonetheless, strange for Nadal. So I do think Juan Martin Del Potro wins. I think he wins in 4 sets. I think he plays incredible tennis. One thing I'll address is Rafa has been so sharp tactically against Del Potro, and I've pointed that out. The forehand drop shot down the line has been so good. His ability to take Del Potro out wide on the backhand has been so good. I think Del Potro is going to be able to hit over it way more in this tournament. A couple things Rafa did in Wimbledon. What were the things he did to beat him? One, the serve out wide. It hasn't been on the ad side. It hasn't been as sharp in this tournament. Another thing, the volleying. He came to the net so often. The way he beat Del Potro reminded me of the way Roger Federer wins matches, going to the net, and basically being so savvy with his approach shots. It was so incredible by Nadal. And what's been weak this tournament? The volleys. So I think there's a lot pointing to Del Potro here. I like Delpo in 4 sets. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and on iTunes. I'll see you next time.